right, welcome to another episode of Hops and Handshakes. This is episode number 16. It is we're located here at Founders on a snowy spring day in April. And I am joined by new friend Sara Visser and the creator of the GR Guide. Sara, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
All right, I'm
great.
Excited.
Yeah,
you know, this is cool because I've obviously watched your content being a Grand Rapids resident.
Yeah.
And you've done a tremendous job doing this stuff. And but then I don't know much else about you, to be honest with you. So a lot of this conversation you're going to hear for maybe the first time, and I'm going to hear for the first time. So with no further ado, give us a background story and then how we got to hear of running, a social media account that's quite successful.
Yeah. Well, I'm born and raised here in Grand Rapids.
Okay. Whereabouts?
So just on the southeast side.
Okay.
So yeah. Loved it here, went to college here.
Okay.
And then I was kind of getting a little, sick of Grand Rapids. I was like, I need to get out of here a little bit, so I moved to Chicago.
Okay, what'd you go to college for?
Business communications.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what, I need to get out for a little bit, so went to Chicago.
Okay.
I worked in advertising and fashion.
Okay.
And there were so
downtown?
many. Yep, right
Okay.
downtown.
All right.
Right across from the Bean. It was awesome.
Okay, I know
Yeah.
exactly where you're at.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there were a lot of bloggers at that time that were doing some fun stuff, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like,
Give me the year.
It was probably around, it was 2011.
Okay, I was off. I was going to say 12, but 11, all right.
2011.
I play this numbers math game in my head. But
I remember when
2011.
I started it,
Okay.
Chicago had that snow apocalypse. So, you couldn't go
remember that.
anywhere. You had to,
remember
stay
that.
inside. You couldn't do anything.
Yep.
So I was like, I'm going to start my blog. That's
Okay.
what I did. So, started my blog.
So a winter storm keyed
Yes.
the
blog. So I always remember the year.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, I started my blog, and there was a lot of local people doing this with me, and I loved the community. I loved working with brands. Instagram wasn't really a thing around that time,
Yeah.
so that came a little bit later. But
Very new then.
yeah. So it was more of the blogging platform and working with different local brands and national brands on
Okay.
the blog, and then kind of tying it into my work as well in fashion.
Do you remember your first post?
It was something with champagne because I love champagne.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it was
Did
something
you do
of
it?
that
Did
sort.
you? But you wrote it in your
In my
apartment or in your
yeah.
apartment.
Yep.
All right. Was Pops a champagne or Pops some
Yes.
champagne? Was that? Did that inspire that maybe a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
So
I can't remember the cross streets in it, but that's a good place to go in the River
Yeah.
North area, right?
Yes, I love
okay.
it there.
Very
Yeah.
cool. All right, and then is one of your natural talents writing?
I do. I love writing.
You love writing.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
kind of a creative outlet for
Okay.
me. So yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, a half an hour to an hour a day, or every other day writing is no problem for
Oh,
you.
yeah,
In fact,
no problem.
it's a
Yeah.
joyous thing to do.
It is,
okay.
yeah.
Because I've talked to a lot of people that want to develop a following, create content, talk about something that they're very passionate about, and like you said, this is coming from an area of passion, right?
Yep.
Of you do like this stuff, the connecting, to be valuable, but they're not natural writers,
Yeah.
and so there's other ways to start. A blog, it can be a
Definitely.
vlog, right? It can
Yep.
be in that kind of stuff, but the key thing is you started, right?
Right,
You
it
started.
is.
So talk about, we fast forward a little bit here. Go back, college, like when you left college and you go to Chicago, what were you hoping to get out of your job that maybe you didn't get out of it? Or what were you looking for out of college with your profession at that point in time? This is pre-blog, right?
Yeah. I think in Chicago, what I really wanted was that big city experience and learning from, a ton of different people. And it was just something that I don't think I could have done here in Grand Rapids. So
Okay.
I think that time for me was really great to, my blog allowed me to go to New York Fashion Week and a lot
Yep.
of different things that I wouldn't have been able to do if
Sure.
I think I'd stayed here in Grand Rapids. So I think my vision when I was done with college was really trying to stretch myself, to grow, to try new things, to experience something else. And so
Okay.
that's what kind of drew me and led me into Chicago.
Okay, so experimenting, just getting
Yeah.
out there in a different environment.
Yep.
You grew up in Grand Rapids. You knew Grand Rapids, even though Grand Rapids has shifted a lot
Yes.
in the last 10
Yes,
years.
and I wanna get
It's
to
not
that.
Chicago
Yep.
and New York and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, all right, that's cool. That's cool. You're in Chicago. blog, you're getting some traction. Like, how long did it take for you to get traction? Like, end of 2000. That storm was like the end of 2011, wasn't it? Like December-ish, maybe?
Yep.
Okay, I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So, like, did you get traction? Did you get people commenting immediately? Like, how did you go there? You start writing, and then how did people find it? What was that hustle like?
A lot of it is social media, and doing it that way. A lot of that back then it was Facebook, a lot of that, and just networking and tagging other people, working with other brands, saying, hey, I have this blog, I'd love to feature you on it. How can we work together?
Okay, so that's a very important thing you just said. That you didn't reach out and say, hey, pay me money and I'll maybe we'll work out a deal.
Yeah.
You went giving first.
I think if
providing value.
If you're just starting your blog, you don't have a whole lot. Like you're saying, like how do you gain that traction?
Yeah.
You have to be a little bit more flexible when you
Absolutely.
start out to grow it and
Absolutely.
and do what you have to do.
Absolutely. I think there's with what we do in our business, and the 21 Handshake business is kind of helping clients navigate, how do you use social media? A lot of them struggle with it because they understand the traditional mode of face-to-face and the selling and that stuff, but how do I build the relationship or sell stuff over here? And it's so funny how they a lot of people forget the principles that worked in the real life area, and they forget those principles, like, hey, ask questions, listen.
Yes.
Your first few times meeting somebody, you might not talk about business. You might just be talking about your favorite places to go in Chicago, and you're like, well, if you like champagne, that place is cool, but here's a little one that's not as well known. It's not right in the popular tourist corridor, so whatever. You might do that, but then we go online and we feel like it's this transactional thing, and it's not. It's just there's just a device between the two people connecting, and so the same relationship building, giving more, making it easy for them to say yes, bit by bit, applies the same way here. And it sounds like you spent a lot of time doing that to get yourself where you're at now.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
So, like, how many people did you reach out to in the first year?
Countless. And what I tell people too is the worst they can say is no.
Yes.
Right? That's the thing. And so you have to kind of put yourself out there. It's scary. It's like, what are they going to say? What are they going to do?
Yes.
But at the same time, the worst is they say no. And then you move on to the next one. So I tell people, don't be afraid to try.
Right. So there's art. There's, there's an art to the game of this. But then there's a math quotient too. It's numbers. Like you have people that you've talked to before that are trying to do what you did, and they went out and reached out to 5 people and they all said no, and then now, well, that strategy doesn't work. Or something like that. So I have a feeling you reached out to more than 5 people.
Yeah, it was more than 5 people. Yeah.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
That's cool though. That's where it's at.
Yeah.
So, all right, so you're getting some traction. It's going well. You're writing about stuff that you care about. Yeah. Which is cool. You're doing something that you're naturally good at, which is even better. Yeah. It's hard not to want to spend time on it.
Yeah.
And then give me the year where we decided to move back here and what happened, or the moments leading up to that, and then we moved back to West Michigan here. Yeah,
well, my family obviously lives here, so I'd come back on a weekend, come here, and it'd be a new restaurant, a new boutique, more apartments. It was just like everything. Every time I would come back, it would be something new. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, like Grand Rapids is kind of going somewhere now.
Yeah.
It's not as stagnant as I remembered it. I just felt like there was a breath of fresh air coming through. So I moved back here. I can't remember the year, but moved back and then just really wanted to enhance and showcase these really amazing places that were popping up. And so that's what led me to really kind of dive deep into the GR Guide as a platform for people to find out new things going on, a new restaurant that opened, a new clothing store to get a dress from for a hot date or whatever. There's such awesome things here in the city, and so the GR Guide is really a fun way to showcase that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So on the platforms, like where do you spend your time with the platforms that you have?
A good question. So I started it really with the Instagram. And the Instagram was a way for me to showcase, like, hey, I'm at this restaurant, you should go check it out. Or if I
visual
went to an
content.
event,
Yep.
people love that. And it got a lot of traction, but people were like, hey, if you're at that event, I would have loved to have known about that. So then I kind of knew that I needed to have a blog or a website to kind of give people more information, like, hey, if there's this event, here you can go to it.
Okay.
And that's what kind of spun into the 411 and the 616 that I do every week.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Very cool. So has that been successful for you? Is that getting traction?
Yeah,
okay.
Everyone will tell me, like, every Monday I go to your site to check out the 411, and I'm like, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
There is such cool things to do here in Grand Rapids, and if I can help people kind of see that, I'm more than happy to do that every Monday. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So how much time does this take for you to manage these of what you have going on? Like you have the blog, obviously your website with the blog.
Yep.
You have the social media accounts,
Yeah.
right? And predominantly Instagram?
Predominantly Instagram, yeah.
Okay,
that's
so
where I
that's the
spend,
leading one?
Yeah.
Okay.
The most
But
of my
on
time.
Facebook?
And then
Sure,
Twitter,
Twitter.
Pinterest. Yeah.
Okay. For somebody, how do you feel about, as a writer, how do you feel about Twitter?
That's a tough one. I don't know where that's really going. It's hard to say. I mean, I think it's really relevant for news or information, but
Sure.
I think it's kind of trending downwards a little bit for, if I'm going to share an article, who really goes to Twitter to click on an article and read it? I don't know. I think it's relevant, but not as relevant as it was.
I think it depends on the nature of the content,
Yes.
but the reason I asked you specifically that, because you're a really good writer. So you want the room to write, right? I mean, and it might benefit somebody that's not as comfortable writing because they can only have, 280 characters now? So what was 140, but now it's 280?
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's only so much damage you can do in one text, right? Where you were like, I'd rather, have an excerpt here and get into my blog because I can really write and create an experience. So, so I can see Instagram 1, Facebook 2.
Yes.
All right, gotcha. That makes sense. So, the overall of the GR Guide. The overall goal and what is the overall goal as you continue to do this in the future? I would suppose, like where you've gotten now with it and where you're looking to go from it. Like where's the growth going to be? Where's the where if it isn't where you want it now, where do you see it going and what would that look like?
I mean, obviously the goal is to highlight what makes Grand Rapids so special and so amazing.
Sure.
Whether it be a brewery like here at Founders, there's so many breweries.
Which, by
here.
the way, I forgot something, Alex. I'm supposed to ask you what beer you're drinking.
I've been all day.
All right, she has all day. I had the Centennial IPA, and then we'll cheers again.
Cheers.
I messed this all up. I do. All right, cheers, and we'll drink because you don't have to talk the whole time. You can drink it. All right. I feel better now. That was like 10 minutes late, but we got it done.
Yeah.
So highlighting, and there's a lot of stuff going on in West Michigan.
There's so much stuff. Beer City that we, have so many breweries, our prize. I mean, there's so many cool things here, and that's my goal is to really highlight that, and more specifically, small businesses that are really doing cool things here in Grand Rapids. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Very cool. So now I have to think, in your, coming from a bigger city, Chicago's a great city, but it's huge, right? It's a big city.
It's a big city.
I feel like part of what was appealing to you, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's hard to have the impact of a bigger city to the level that you're having an impact on West Michigan. So like you saw like something coming on the a lot of traction happening, coming on the rise, and being like, man, I could have a lot of impact over an area because there's less of people doing the stuff that you're doing.
Pond. So.
And then on the other side, I think what is cool, and I think every city has its own community, but I like to think West Michigan is a ranking higher on the tighter knit group and really getting behind their community. Like
I would agree
people
with
who
that.
live here really like living here.
They do.
Like really like living here.
I know. Yeah.
And I've lived in other places and traveled to many other places, and I can't say that everybody just loves where they live.
Yeah, the community here is very special.
Yes.
That is something that we
must like it if we can deal with snow
in April, right?
In April, right? But no, and I mean, so that was obviously a nice part of it, right? Of being able to come back and draw an impact.
Yep.
What does Grand Rapids need, or what's on the horizon eventually that should be on the horizon that we don't have today?
That is a good question. We'll have to come back to that.
Okay, you can stew on it.
We'll have to come back to
there's
that.
a lot. I mean, there's no wrong answer. I mean,
I know.
but I feel like the West Side's been super cool to develop.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'll give you. I would love a rooftop restaurant, sports bar type of thing. Like if we could ever get some good weather on March Madness, that Thursday afternoon of March Madness,
a rooftop?
Little indoor outdoor. Now that would be super cool. I know that's a challenge. You gotta get the right building, fire codes, all that stuff like that. But that would be cool in my opinion.
A rooftop would be amazing. I mean,
so
Chicago has so many of those.
Yes, exactly. So if somebody's watching this and they want to build that, I will come.
Rooftop.
I promise. I'll be there. That's not gonna. Yeah, just me is probably not going to cover your overhead, but it's a start, right? At least you start with. That's more clients than 21 Handshakes started when we started. We did not have one client. We just had 0 clients. So you're ahead of where we started. What do you think about the mall situation?
The mall situation?
Like shopping in general.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You read, it's like every single week another, closing of some kind.
Sure.
So the mall situation,
it's just
not feeling.
I think they're putting money into I think they're going to try to conclude some shops in Ada.
Yeah.
They're going to include some shops. Obviously, they got some nice in East and in the Breton Village area.
I think it's the smaller stores though.
Yeah, I think that's going to work for our town.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
I don't think the Mall of America is going to work for us or something like that.
Yeah.
But the quaint.
The little shops, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know if you can pick favorites in your position, but what is your favorite restaurant or top 3 in Grand Rapids?
I get this one a lot.
Do you? Okay. Damn it!
No.
I was doing well there for a while.
No, I get this one, but it's good. My go-to for just like a really good dinner with friends, date night, whatever. Terra.
Okay.
Terra GR.
Okay.
That's my favorite.
I don't think I've been there.
What?
I haven't been there. I don't.
They have a great happy hour.
Okay.
Their pizza is my absolute favorite in Grand Rapids.
Gotcha.
Nona's in Ada. That's one of my favorites for Italian food.
Right by our office. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So good. What else?
What is your favorite food? Butcher's Union's good. Favorite food?
I love fish. I love salmon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where are you going if you're getting salmon?
I think best seafood is probably Leo's.
Yes, I agree with you.
Right?
Too.
Yeah.
Cool. Very good.
But.
No, I like that. I like Leo's is down there, and then there's, who does a good job. I'm partial because that's where I live, but I'm a huge fan of what they do at. I can't remember the frickin' name of it. We're next door to us. Ada Grill, Schnitz. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, they're great.
Very, very, very good stuff. All right. So, what hasn't gone the way you wanted it to go through this process?
Yeah.
Because it's in every talk of somebody that's done something, I have yet anybody agree to me that it was a straight line this way.
Yeah.
Right?
No, yeah.
So where were there bumps in the road? Like what happened and what did you learn from it?
I think for me, it's just the time and the effort that goes into it and finding that. I wish I could post more. I mean, I'm lucky if I do 1 or 2 articles a week, and I think wish I could do more. I think that's always been kind of my struggle, is wanting to do more and not having the time to do it. So
got it. Right
now, it's trying to focus and putting more time and effort into it that I think would be.
And what is your time commitment today, and what would you like it to be?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's, doing it sometimes at night or on the weekends.
Sure.
And,
so 10 hours a week, maybe, something like that?
Yeah, so putting some more time and effort into it, I think, is where I need to be spending some time. So.
All right. Have you thought about, do you have an intern of any kind of stuff? You thought about something?
I've thought about that.
Because I think it'd be very fascinating for you. It'd be very fascinating for you to have once a week, you're going out in the town, and somebody that's in a video kind of profession, it'd be cool for them to follow you around a little bit.
Yeah.
And then that way you kind of can curate some content without having to go and sit down and write. Because writing is like writing.
You got to focus, right?
Yes, you really have to focus, and it comes naturally to you. Writing more than it does to me, but we write. I write for a few publications.
Yeah.
And when that article comes around, I'm like, oh man, gosh. And so what we end up doing is like actually end up rambling in a voice memo.
Okay.
And then somebody from our team actually puts it together and actually makes sense of it, and then go from there. But like, so to your point with the time constraint, I'm trying to find ways to create multiple pieces of content.
Yes.
And if you're going to go out to dinner anyway, or go check up a few new shops and have a 3-hour thing, there's people out there looking to do cool stuff on. Yeah. I would encourage that idea. I mean, we're actually meeting with, we're interviewing a bunch of our intern candidates as we speak right now, but it might be something that we can talk about. But like that would be super. I just think it would be so easy for you too.
Yes.
Put together. And then there's this video that you put out once a month or something like that. And then you could write on the video a little bit or comment on the video, but because people everybody underestimates how much effort and time it takes to create content.
It really does.
Like it must be, nobody overestimates the amount of effort that's needed. Yeah. Right.
And I think too, for me, if I'm representing a brand or a company or a small business, like I want to take that time to actually do it well. It's not just pumping out an article because I want to.
Right.
It's to do justice to the company itself and to spend that time and effort on it. So it's a struggle.
So, is that? I mean, are you doing a fair amount of those monthly then? Like writing on somebody's behalf? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's and how's that process work? Are they reaching out to you? Reaching out to them?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's a whole other avenue that we talked about. Is obviously with your following, you're nearing up at the time of this recording. You're sneaking up on 12,000 followers, which is awesome. Yeah. Congratulations on Instagram.
You.
And it's something that we certainly educate our clients on is like, influencer marketing.
Yes.
Like really, really valuable stuff.
It is, yeah.
To, generate awareness by association of somebody else that's already trusted, to piggyback off that. How do you feel about the market here in West Michigan and just the overall business climate and their understanding and adoption of influencer marketing?
It's a good question because, living in Chicago, it was more of a commonplace of doing influencer marketing. That was like kind of a no-brainer. You didn't have to explain it. You didn't have to, have all this different language of describing it. It was just kind of a given, right?
Yep.
And I feel like Grand Rapids is a little bit lagging in that, but they're catching up in some areas. And I think a lot of it is just making sure that businesses understand the value of influencer marketing and what that really holds for them. Because it's more than just posting a photo on Instagram, right? There's more to it behind that, and the caption and the hashtags you're using and the time that you post it, and
it's the creative. It's not just the math, it's the creative.
Right. It's not just snapping a photo and being like, oh, there you go.
Do you want me to put your logo up there, or do you want me to actually do a 2-minute video of me walking through your store and talking with your people so somebody could actually, I can show that to 11,800 people the experience of what it's like to be in your business. That's a different story, right?
It definitely is. And understanding what their end value is what for me is most valuable, is to understand, okay, what are you trying to get out of this?
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. That makes sense. That makes sense. So I think it's better. Like 3 years ago was not a conversation.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's getting better now, but I still think there's a lot of opportunity. And but then the other side, from our side, the influencer marketing landscape is I always tell people it's the wild, wild west. We've reached out to 30 people in a row, all have decent sized accounts, and nobody responded. And then we reach out to the next 30 and 17 people respond. Like, so there's, from our end, to find the right ones for a client, it's a lot of just effort that's like, like we have a process for it because it is what, that's kind of what we do, but like you can't guarantee the end. Like we literally can reach out to 200 people and not find the right one. Yeah. Because somebody wants $100,000 a post and somebody just wants free shoes. Like it's all over the board. So I think moving forward, it's going to be people like yourself that kind of help educate the market on like, look, here's the worth, here's the return, here's how it fits into your overall marketing budget. Yeah. Tie me into the other things that you're doing so we can have a common goal, right? And that stuff. And then when you break it down that way, I think it's a very, very powerful form of advertising. So if you are thinking about getting some influence for your business in the local West Michigan, I strongly encourage you to reach out to Sara, and then not only do that, but actually allow her to document an experience of what it's like to work with your business. Not just your logo, that's cool, but what's cool about social media and the internet is be able to basically document an experience and show that, and then expose it to people who already trust her and the GR Guide.
Yeah.
So there's your plug. I didn't even know I was going to do that, but that makes sense, right? Like, that's a really good value.
To tell a story, right?
You got it.
That's what it is.
You got it.
And once you find influencers, I think for a business that work really well, I think the key is trying to do a long-term kind of, keep going with them, of continuing to use your product,
Sure.
or doing more stuff. So yeah, finding the right ones is key, and then continuing along.
Understanding that it really is a drip effect.
Yeah.
So I come from a very sales-oriented, face-to-face world, and then that they look, most of those companies, they're getting better now, but back when I worked in that industry, they looked at marketing as the people that create the flyers and the pretty stuff, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, we go sell it, and you guys create the pretty stuff that goes up somewhere that nobody looks at. Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, I remember one of the first agreements we did like this 4-month project. He was like, all right, cool, got our marketing done. And I'm like, do you know why, like, Coca-Cola is the most recognizable brand still to this day, and they still spend like $3 billion a year in marketing and advertising because it's a drip effect, right?
It is.
It's being top of mind. So for you want to continue to remind people, if they do align with you and GR Guy and that kind of stuff like that, it's not just 1, 2, 5, 10.
Yeah.
It's a drip effect and everything tied together. Yeah, it's definitely consistent.
Yep.
No different than the sales team.
Exactly.
People don't get 4 months of sales and say, okay, cool, we don't need a sales team anymore.
Yeah.
Marketing is really becoming more important to be incorporated into that sales process because so much homework is being done here without this.
Right.
And then that should help the salesperson by looking here.
Yes.
And I think the influencer marketing can help bring that value that business is trying to portray for people like yourself, for sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, take that spiel and whatever you want that spiel. That's my synopsis of it.
Yeah.
All right. So one thing, and you got to give us something good. You can't go like high in the sky. Oh, I wish you can't go like 30,000 foot label, just like an overall label of something. Okay. You got to go in the thread. Like, hey, here's what's happened to me. Here's what I've learned, and here's something that I think that could help anyone.
Okay.
So let's attach a story to it. So what do you think is one thing you've learned in your process in your life thus far that you think could help anyone?
Yeah.
And I kind of would like you to attach a story to it too, so we can get some context to why you say that, and we can relate to it, and take it for face value and act against it.
Yeah. I think, honestly, it sounds a little cliche, but just like following your dreams. I think for me, it was scary for me to move to Chicago. It was scary for me to start a blog, like who would read it? Or it was scary for me to start an Instagram, kind of not knowing what I was doing. But I think that kind of relates back to just try. And if you're passionate about something, like, it's sure to follow. I think that's what I've taken away from a lot of, what I've done in Chicago and what I'm doing with the GR Guide is, if you're passionate about it, if you're really excited to be doing it, that really, is kind of the key to making it
Absolutely.
work.
Well, that helps you propel you, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Like, I'm going to move to Chicago.
Okay.
And then you get excited about it, and then the lizard brain kicks in and says, well, gosh, I don't know much about Chicago. Maybe Grand Rapids isn't that bad. It's cool, my family's here. So in that moment, people will retreat, or they will go forward.
Yep.
So what did you tell yourself when the doubt crept in, or the fear, as you called it? Like, what was that fear, and then how did you get past it?
I think for me, it was, I just wanted to try something new, and it was that experience of, following my dreams to live in a big city and try new things that just was like overweighing that doubt or, the scariness of moving to a new city without having any friends or family there.
Because it's an equation, right?
Right.
Just because you see somebody doing something doesn't mean it's an absence of something else.
Right.
It's just they somehow have been able to put it in their mind, frame it in their mind that this upside beats whatever downside I'm feeling here.
Right.
Right? I understand, because it's very easy. It's very easy for me to say, "Oh gosh, what am I doing?" Or "What? I can't do that." Or "I can't do that." Or it's very easy for my brain to go there, as I think it is for a lot of people emotionally. But I look at the upside. There's definitely an upside that I've always been focused on. But the other thing for me is like, it's regret.
Yeah.
It's I can think of dozens of things I wish I would have done in my 20s.
Yep.
And I was there. I was right where you're talking about.
Yes.
It's like I can do that. And then in the retreat, I retreated. I went ahead and sat back down, or I stayed put, or I couldn't find, whether it's part of it's for some people might be self-confidence too,
Yes.
whatever.
Yep.
But I couldn't get that scale to go in the right direction for me to take action.
Yeah.
As much as I would have wanted to, but now I look back on that, and when I'm in that equation now, it's like, wouldn't you rather tried and failed than just look
Exactly.
back and wonder?
Right.
Like wonder. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so.
'Cause I feel like that would have been me if I had never done Chicago or this blog or whatever. I mean, I had just a strong instinct to do it that I felt like if I didn't, I would regret that.
Yeah, you get to the point where like I can't not do it.
Yeah.
If I won't
Yes.
be able to, you won't. I won't be me.
Right.
And so I think it's always an important distinction because a few people talk. They say, hey, I don't know how that person does it. They just. They just must not fear anything. I'm like,
Yeah.
no. They feel it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're just moving away with it, because just because you feel something doesn't mean it's obviously the correct thing to do at that moment in time.
Right.
Very cool. That's cool. What would you tell your 18-year-old self?
You can do hard things. I think for me,
okay.
I mean, we're all going to come across, like, I don't know, all of these kind of little roadblocks, but it's, persevering through it and just telling myself, you can do hard things. For any other young kids out there,
Give me something that you've watched yourself, because what you're talking about is like sometimes you just got to watch yourself do something you didn't know you could do,
yeah,
right?
Right.
Give me an example of something that you did that you found very challenging, and then you look back, you kind of like go through it, and you look back, you're like, damn, I just did that. That's pretty cool.
I think for me, so my blog is on WordPress. I don't know too much about WordPress. I was having to teach myself, some of the coding and some of the styling and all of this to actually do my blog. That was hard. That was countless nights watching YouTube videos or
and the experience that they had in 2000, right? The experience they had in 2011 was not as it's easier, a little bit easier today to move around. 2011, it wasn't as the user friendly is about that. So you had to do some homework to get
right.
Okay.
Yep. So
that makes sense.
Right. So doing my first blog and then moving to Grand Rapids and doing the GR guide, it was like trying to take some of that with me, but still, trying to teach yourself how to do this.
The writer learning how to code.
Yeah.
For learning how to do something. Yeah, that's not natural.
No. Exactly. So that's hard.
Okay.
That's really hard. But that didn't stop me. That didn't, make me not start the blog. So
perfect.
You can do hard things.
You can do hard things. So ideal Saturday night in West Michigan. Let's say it's summer. Let's say it's 75 degrees outside.
Okay.
What's Sarah doing?
Sitting at the Sovngarde outside, having a drink.
Okay.
I love their patio.
The patio's cool.
Yeah, it's so great.
The patio's very cool.
So,
all right.
That's my ideal.
Are we going to go to eat anywhere, or are we just sitting there drinking for 6 hours?
Drink there, eat at Butcher's Union.
Eat at Butcher's Union.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any, do you get out to the lakeshore at all? Do you like going out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite place out there in Holland or Grand Haven?
I recently went to the Sandy Point Beach House, which is it's in between Holland and Grand Haven.
Okay.
Kind of.
Yeah.
That was so good. I can't wait to go back there.
Is it by the power plant then? Kind of Port Sheldon-ish, something like that?
So you go all the way down Port Sheldon.
Okay.
And then you turn right, and it's like just down.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Amazing.
Good to know.
Amazing.
I love going out there.
Yeah.
Not now, but
not now. In the summer.
It'll be better. Okay. All right. Where can we find you, Sarah? We're at GR Guide, right?
The GR Guide.
And your handle on Instagram is
at the GR Guide.
At the GR Guide. That would be the ideal place for them to go to.
On the lakeshore?
No, for your social account?
Yeah.
Or Facebook?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And when is the best time to check the 411?
Every Monday.
Every Monday.
7:30 is when I post it.
AM?
AM.
Do you write that in the morning?
No, I
write
it.
And then you post it in the morning. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, you're up early.
No. It's out at 7:30 though.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for joining us on the Hops and Handshakes. You have work to do there, girl.
Yes,
You got to finish that down.
I do.
Anyway, thanks for joining us on Hops and Handshakes. This has been another good episode. Please go follow GR Guide, and we will hit you up with the next episode here shortly. Thanks so much.